Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're digging into some really profound guidance from the ancient Kṣitigarbha Sutra. We're going to talk about one of the hardest moments in life, being with a loved one as they pass, and explore what this text says is the most powerful thing we can actually do to help.
You know, it's a question that every single one of us is going to face eventually. You want to do something, anything, to help ease their way, but it's so hard to know what really matters. Well, the Kṣitigarbha Sutra, a really important Buddhist text, actually gives a surprisingly clear and practical answer. So let's get right into it.
So what is it? What's the single most decisive action we can take? According to the sutras, it's not about some big, complicated ritual. It's not about grand gestures. It's actually all about a sound. The text says the most powerful, most beneficial thing you can do is make sure the dying person simply hears the name of a Buddha or a Bodhisattva.
Now, why a sound? Why is that so powerful? Well, it all has to do with this concept called the alaya vijnana, or the storehouse consciousness. Just think of it like the ultimate spiritual hard drive. It's the deepest level of your mind where every single thing you've ever done or thought, all your karma is stored. And here's the key. Even if a person is unconscious, even if they seem completely unresponsive, this part of their consciousness is still listening. That sacred name gets imprinted right onto it.
And that is the whole point. Just having that final positive sound imprinted on the consciousness has the power to basically dissolve a lifetime of negative karma. I mean, think about that. For someone who might have had a really tough life or maybe made a lot of mistakes, this one simple act can completely change their karmic path and forge a direct link to a much better future.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The sutra doesn't just tell us what to do. It also gives some very, very strict warnings about what not to do. It turns out that a lot of common, well-meaning traditions can actually become a heavy burden for the person who's passing.
And the way the sutra describes this is just wow, it's so vivid. It says doing these other things is like finding someone who's already carrying a 100-pound weight, who hasn't eaten in 3 days, and then adding another bundle to their load. It doesn't help at all. It just makes their struggle even heavier.
So to be super clear, the sutra specifically warns against things like animal sacrifice for rituals or making offerings to what it calls unwholesome spirits. It says these things offer zero benefit. In fact, the bad karma from taking a life just gets added to the deceased spiritual debt. The truly beneficial path is simple, chanting a holy name, and doing it with a truly sincere heart.
Okay, this brings us to what is, for me, the most surprising and mind-bending part of this whole teaching. It's something we can call the 1/7 rule. And it explains how spiritual merit, good karma, actually gets divided up when we do something for a loved one who has passed. It seems like a pretty straightforward question, doesn't it? If you do a good deed for someone who's gone, you'd assume they get all of the benefit from it. But the spiritual math here, according to the sutras, is probably not what you'd expect.
In this chart just lays it out so clearly. For any good deed that the living perform for the dead, whether it's chanting, making offerings, anything like that, the person who has passed on receives only 1/7 of the good karma generated. Just 1/7.
So, where does the rest of it go? That massive chunk, the other 6/7 of all that positive merit, goes directly to you. It goes to the living person who actually performed the compassionate act.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds a little selfish, maybe? But if you stick with it, you'll see it actually reveals a really profound truth about what compassion and karma are all about, and it points us toward the wisest path we can take.
See, the principle at work here is basically you reap what you sow. The idea is that the very act of creating compassion, of doing a good deed for someone else, is itself an incredibly powerful act of self-cultivation. You are the one doing the spiritual work, so it makes sense that you are the one who receives the primary benefit.
So, the ultimate takeaway here isn't just a manual for how to help others when they die. It's actually a massive wake-up call for all of us right now. It's a reminder that the most important thing we can do is focus on our own spiritual practice and build up our own good karma while we're still alive. That's the best way to prepare for our own peaceful transition.
So, let's put it all together. The sutra leaves us with a very clear, actionable game plan. First, whatever you do it with a sincere mind. Prepare offerings carefully, without waste. Second, a very specific rule. Never taste food before it's been offered to the Buddha. And third, and this is the most important one, instead of wailing or crying, you continuously chant a holy name. That is the greatest gift you can possibly give.
And all of this leaves us with a final, big question to think about. If most of the benefit from helping someone else comes right back to us, what does that say about compassion? Does it make it selfish? Or does it reveal something truly beautiful? That maybe, in the end, there's no real difference between helping others and helping ourselves. That every true act of compassion is an act that uplifts everyone.